I'm Lily, and today I'm just going to be doing kind of, actually I can't call it a ramble really because it's not really a ramble if I've actually literally made a list of things that I'm going to be talking about, but I guess the details for each of this are a bit more rambly, but just kind of like just talking about Arena and kind of like my ideas, like where the things I would like to see on Arena going forward, just because, like, overall, like, honestly, a year ago I was pretty not too impressed with Arena. I was not super hopeful for its future, at least with me, because it was just like, it doesn't really have formats I want and things like that, but because they were also just being very stingy on what they were actually looking to be expanding it to. But actually now, after, like, especially after they talked about what they're planning on the roadmap, and also just playing over the last year and kind of playing with the community on the Discord and other people I know, it's really grown on me as a platform. And especially knowing that, like, okay, multiplayer is in the works, adding in, like, older sets is being looked at and is in the, like, potentially in the works. Cube Draft is in the works, and actually having these things that I care about and I want to play, and like now, like, Brawl is on there. You can play like Arena, like historic Brawl if you want to, and just all these things being on here just really made me excited for it. And this video is gonna be talking about, like, the things that I would like to see the most on Arena. And notably, I'm going to be staying away from things that they have confirmed are coming. So things I'm very excited about, like things like cube drafting, drafting in pods, and those sort of things, as well as like just very generic things that people have been calling out for. It's like, oh, we want Pioneer on Arena, and things like that. Which, like, yeah, but it's mostly things that necessarily aren't the, like, things that are confirmed or like the top outcries right now that, like, Arena needs X. So yeah, and I've divided it into kind of like 4 major sections, like minor, very small things. It's like things that literally, if they wanted to, could probably do pretty quickly. Like medium-term things, like larger projects that are like things, and then there's large expansions, and then just like events and stuff that I would like to see in thing, which is kind of like its own side category, but it's like, here are some formats I would actually like to see. So first off, for like just jumping right into it, like minor stuffs is, they've improved it a bit, but the deck organizer is currently like not great. Like, there are like categories, like organizing it by like format, but it isn't too great. But I would adore like a proper deck folder system, like to be able to like actually be like, okay, here's my folder for precons, and here are my folder for brawl decks, and actually have that go like that. Also the ability to just like view decks as a list, just because I don't need the full like deck box animation things. Like, having an option to be like, okay, just show me the decks as a list, and like give me like comments like the format and things like that, and have like a more general explorer thing for them. Honestly, I feel like these people, like, you can make it look nicer than like an Excel sheet, but I feel like a lot of things on Arena would really benefit from a simplified view. Things like the deck builder and stuff like that, where it's like, for the deck builder, honestly, I don't need a visual representation of every card. Like, an option just be like, okay, for card lookup, just give me a list. That's all I need. I don't need to see every single card out and about. Just give me a list of them. That's all I need. But back to main point, just kind of a proper deck folder system to organize it a bit, because especially with brawl decks, I'm getting to the point where, like, I have a lot of brawl decks, and that main page is very cluttered, and honestly the folder system that is there is kind of unusable. also, like, if we could get, apart from that, like, it does organize it on like the all-in-one page roughly by format, but if like the deck boxes, like some representation at the very least could be different, like at least especially for like brawl decks versus non-brawl decks, like make like the sides a different color or something like that. And just like right now I just do like brackets, like a heading, close brackets before any deck name to indicate the format. But yeah. Also, deck name should have a longer character limit, because I can't put in all my bad puns for my deck names, because the character limit is very small. The next thing I would really like is the ability to set deck-based avatar overrides, where it's right now you just have like a generic avatar, and that's what you use for everything. Like I use Tristani for everything, but the ability to say that like, hey, for this deck, when I'm playing this deck and I'm putting up this deck, switch the avatar to this. Like switch my avatar to, say for like if I'm playing like a brawl deck for I don't know, like Nissa, switch my avatar to Nissa, and things like that, where it's if I'm playing mono red aggro, you know, Tristani maybe isn't the best choice, and maybe I should switch over to a different one. Because currently, sometimes like the avatar doesn't fit the deck that you're playing, but also there's really no reason to collect other avatars. Like I don't care about other avatars because I'm not gonna move away from like playing as like Tristani, because why would I play as anyone else other than Tristani? And like there's really no reason to like kind of collect new avatars, and it's like, oh, when new avatars come out for like in the store and stuff, like I don't really care. So yeah, it'd just be nice to like actually give that as like another customization option, but like per deck. And, like still have your default avatar and like have the ability to set a deck as like, okay, this deck just uses your default unless you override it. But otherwise, yeah. And in a similar vein, the ability to set default sleeves. So currently all decks use generic things, be able to set like your default sleeve that like a deck is automatically sleeved with if you don't choose a sleeve. And at the same time, also just like be able to set default basic lands. I feel like a player preferences thing is a section in the options that could really be expanded a little bit, where it's like, okay, for basic lands, like here's the type of each 5 basic that when you're auto-adding basics to my deck, add these. I mean, I think in general, like, the basic land selection needs to be overhauled because, A, it's still kind of annoying to get to change what basics you want, and kind of unintuitive for new players. Like, I think pretty much, like, every new player I know, like, they have to be essentially told how to navigate to where they add new basic lands. And that's not ideal. And also for like, especially, and it'll only get worse as more sets are added, but when you go to like the basic land filter, it's real annoying to, if you're just like the add lands button, like it doesn't actually get, like you have to scroll through like so many pages of basics before you actually get to the non-basic lands, and I feel like that could just be used a lot better. I don't know how the right selection would be, but it's like, I don't know how to best handle basics, but the current system right now is not the way that basics should be handled. Alright, another small thing that I would like to add is, like, every week, every, like, update or so, which is about, like, once a month or so, they, like, change out, like, what's in the store. And one of the sections is card styles, where it's usually they have, like, some new card styles that are for, like, half off. And it's like, that's cool, like, it lets you know what, like, new card styles are and whatnot, but that actually isn't all the new card styles that they add with every patch, and many of them just get silently added, and just, like, yeah, they're in the background if you can, like, go into, like, the store and, like, buy them, if you, like, navigate the card style part of your collection, but many of them you'll never know that are there, and also many of which, like, I'm not going to get, like, the average player I don't think is going to even consider getting at full price, because it's it's like, quite frankly, like a lot of card styles are extremely expensive. And like words mean things. Where it's even for like commons, like 400 gems for a common is not like, especially if like some of them are just like draft commons, where it's like, why would I ever spend 400 gems on this? Like, I get that whales exist and like they might spend money on this, but like, but what I'm saying is the in the store, like, have it like be on like a weekly rotation basis. That like every week here's like a selection of cards that are like half off or something, or on a sale, or it's like, okay, here's this selection of draft commons this week that you can buy with gold instead of gems if you want to, and just kind of like have a reason for people to come back to the store. Just come like from both like a business point of view, like to actually sell card styles, because it's like you've already made them, and so it's like, for the most part, I don't think anyone's like, the people who are going to buy them are going to buy them. And also just like let people know like what card styles there are and around, and like make them at a reasonable price that people might want to go into. And it goes a bit into the psychology part of like, oh, I gotta snap this up now before it goes off sale. But like, and yeah, it plays into that. But I mean, capitalism's evil and all that, and we've heard that spiel before, but it's like, it just would make a lot of sense to like be like, right now it's just like the store changes like once a month, and it's like you'll check it out like when there's a new update, but there's really no reason to check it out besides that. Like, the next thing I want is just like, it kind of goes into, and I hope it's part of this expanded social systems which I had to delay, but having the direct challenge system, like the options for it, a bit expanded. So it's like right now it's like, obviously have some like default formats. Like right now you can be like, oh, do you want to play like a normal match, like a normal best of one, normal best of three, or do you want to play a brawl match? And some other selections, but just expanding that. Things like also as a tangent to that, make friendly brawl decks not restricted to being exactly 60 cards for people who want to play like not necessarily historic brawl, but more like historic commander. But also this ability, when you have direct challenges, to kind of like set like all the kind of the features of the match, like able to be like, okay, checkbox, are you using commanders? Yes, no. What is the minimum deck size? Singleton? Yes, no. Like, what is the card pool legal, and things like that. And granted, part of this has to do with like the things, but like a bit more fine-tuning over like what you're playing, like starting life total for people when like start at like 30 or something for like a slower format, and just kind of like have a general like kind of like build your own format system. Maybe even like throwing in some of the emblems from special events, where it's like, hey, do you and your friend want to like test or play around with like the Cascade event, or like Omniscience, or some dumb format like that, and be able to just like play around with that and have that like space there. Going back to kind of like the card organizer, this is super minor, but on the card organizer for like the set filters, you have Ixalan, Rivals of Ixalan, Dominaria, M19, then you have Guilds of Ravnica, Ravnica Allegiance, War of the Spark, M20, and then Throne of Eldraine is on it's on the same line as those. Throne of Eldraine should be one line lower, and that bugs me. Just because like the lines are cutting off at like every standard cutoff, except for Throne of Eldraine, and that bugs me more than it should. And honestly, they'll probably have to when like Theros comes out, and honestly, they'll probably have to reorganize that whole interface eventually for like when there are more sets to like actually how do you filter out sets when especially when they go backwards, adding like things like Amonkhet and Kaladesh and blocks, and like going forwards, like eventually it's gonna get unwieldy, but just move Eldraine down. It's bugging me. But also the ability to have a filter for a like found in pack, where it's like to be able to filter in like out for a set, like what are my cards I can't open, like things like Planeswalker deck packs, intro deck cards, like brawl deck cards, like be able to say like, hey, show me only the cards that like aren't found, the supplementary cards, or do you want, or just ignore those if I want to look at like my percent completion of a set, or like what am I missing for that I can open packs and things like that. And just like a little filter like that would be nice to have. Yeah, and that's about it for the minor expansions I'd like to see. It's just like little things that just like, here's some quality of life stuff I'd like to add. Right, one thing that okay, so the next thing I would think is like the moderate things, like things that would actually take a little bit more like space to design and program and implement. And the first thing is kind of goes in that first one of like card styles, where it's like there are a lot of card styles in the game, but there are many of them like are like, why would you ever spend 400 gems, like especially nowadays, like on a pollen bright druid card style? Like this is a card that is draft chaff from a format that isn't even the current draft format, and it's what this card style is just kind of sitting there. Essentially what I'd say is and also kind of like going from their philosophy of like the whole like project booster fun stuff in paper, is like make it a very rare chance, but like for these like buyable cards, like just the normal buyable like cards that aren't like in bundles and things like that, or that whenever you open a card of that type, or make it when you already have 4x of that card and you open a card of that type, and like sure, even like restricted to the non-rare ones, but like give it a chance to open it and like unlock the card style for it or something like that, where it's especially for like when someone gets to the end of the set, like give them a reason to like care about like, oh, maybe like in the common slot you can get something other than a wild card, because like you can open up, say, this random card style for this random draft chaff card style. Because honestly, it's like some of them I just like wonder, it's like, why did you make this? And like most of the card styles aren't hard, like they're not overly resource intensive to make, but it's just like some of the card styles, like it's like you could probably put them in there and just kind of like give some incentive to like, hey, just like give a little bit of a boost to like increase that, and perhaps also maybe like put it yeah, no, essentially it's kind of like give kind of that option, like that experience of like opening a foil in some ways, and make it a bit more impactful, where it's like, yeah, it's like exciting when you get a wild card, but that's really the only exciting thing you get when opening a pack, and typically you also only care about like the rare in the pack. And sure, that's true for in paper a lot of time, but it'd be neat being like, oh look, I opened the like card style for like Divine Arrow, and it's like, okay, I'm not likely to do this, but I might use it when I use this card in draft or something, and that's fine. It's also a way to like, it would be a way to like get a lot of the card styles where it's like for things that don't have mastery tracks, where if it's like okay, we didn't have mastery track for like War of the Spard, but there's all these draft half ones where it's like a lot of the draft cards we got for like M20 and like Eldraine, because it's like they were part of like the mastery system, but for the sets that didn't have mastery systems, like there's significantly like less card styles to be able to access to. Next would be just kind of like an ICR overhaul, or instant card rewards, I think it's called. But essentially, for those who don't know, it's things like when you get your 5th plus win, you get like these like random like uncommon or rare, or when you get like stuff like there, where it's a really weird spot where ICRs, like most of the time, unless you get up, like for most people, like unless they get upgraded to a rare, you don't really care about ICRs, just because it's like uncommons, especially uncommon wild cards, are like a dime a dozen. Like honestly, I would like almost care like if it gave me more commons more commonly, just because it's like I honestly feel uncommons, it feels like sometimes, especially for like older sets, things like Ixalan and whatnot, where it's just like I didn't actually get most of the commons for that set. But also just like having an option being like, hey, at least currently it only gives you ICRs from standard, but to be able to say like, hey, like, where do you want to get your ICRs from, and being like, do you just want to like focus on recent stuff for standard, or do you want to have like all of historic being like up as a possibility for ICRs? And I just feel like a selection for that being like just like, hey, I'm for someone who only cares about standard. Okay, I just want the more recent ICRs. But if I care about historic and want to fill out my collection, things like that, then go to the full like historic and give me the full range. Let me like get a chance to fill out like the random like Ixalan and like Dominaria cards that I may not have. Because it's like right now it's just kind of like the ICRs are just trash most of the time. It's like, I don't care about this. It's like, oh, look at me, I just got like my 15th whatchamacallit, like my 15th improbable alliance. I really care about that. Fun fact, I really don't. Or just like, yeah, it adds to vault progress, but like the vault is so underwhelming. Like honestly, just like for like back to the preview points of like getting some of those like low value card styles, like maybe like when you open the vault you get a random card style that you don't have, or like in like M19 or M20, the first time you 7-0'd a rain draft, you got a card style, you got Iron Tree Folk. They took that away for Old Drain, but like make it like when you 7-0 a draft in a format, you get a random one of the draft card style. So it's like someone who's very good at drafting like gets a very you can sell like that they get like a bunch of like the card styles for that set and things like that. And like because like honestly it's only drafters that really care about a lot of those cards. And yeah, another thing was just like there are is using the voice lines more, where it's if you go to like the avatar page, like a lot of the voice lines are actually really well done. They're really well written. I'm not saying that because I'm friends with the person who writes them, but they're only really used there. Like there's a lot of these like cool like greetings and things like that where it's I feel like they could really just like be used more, where yeah, they come down when like planeswalkers are used and things like that, but for things like Tristani and things like that, where it's why aren't there voice lines when like because it's like obviously like have an option to be like mute voice lines if people don't want it, but like having a little bit of flavor of like having your avatar there and being like a little more animated. And I mean not literally animated, but like think of like kind of like how like Sparky does stuff when like it's hid and things like that, and like have like those little like flavor. It's part of Arena is kind of having this like fluffy experience, and like I enjoy those sort of things, and like having that there would be really cool. And yeah, and also it also give a reason to like have like different avatars who are beyond just like this character and for this deck, and like having like a bit of like a wider range of experiences. I don't know if I'm like making this clear, like, but like think about like the voice lines that Sparky does and kind of like apply that to like a lot of things. And obviously not everyone's gonna like that, and some people might want to turn it off and give that option obviously, but something that would be really nice to have. Next thing would just be like give us a proper stats page, where like when it actually released into alpha, or not alpha but like into like proper release, like everyone got an email being like, oh, you opened X packs and like all this other stuff and played this many games. And like honestly just give us that information like in the client. Like let me know like what is like how many packs have I opened on this stupid game, or how many games have I played, what is my win percentage, like broken down my format or an overall and things like that. And like obviously like some stuff like might have not been collected, but maybe like at that point start collecting it. Like, and even just like dumb stuff, like tell me like how many like what is the planeswalker I've cast, like what planeswalker I've cast the most, and like what planeswalker have I killed the most, and things like that, where it's like let me know like just like also just like give me like what percentage of completion am I for this set and things like that, where it's just some information and just general things like that would be really nice to have. Into another thing that was kind of like the organizers and stuff, but a proper sleeve and cosmetic organizer. And honestly, it goes into like probably kind of like having the default things where it's mostly just for avatars and stuff, but like a proper gallery of like, show me like all the sleeves that are available, like even if I can't get them and whatnot, and be able to like see like, okay, for like, it is a collectible game, and like, granted, like I'm not going in my way to collect all the sleeves and whatnot, but like ability to see like what sleeves are available, to keep an eye out for things like that, as well as just like also just the sleeve selection screen is getting very unwieldy if you've if you've been collecting sleeves at a decent rate, where it's like, okay, I have like a dozen different sleeves now, and like it is not a great window to select what sleeves I want. Yeah, so just like some sort of system to like do that, organize that, and also show like avatars. They do a little bit, but they only really show in the avatar screen like the avatars immediately available to purchase if you don't have them. But like, let me see like, oh, like the random eternal. Let me know that I can't, even though I can't get it. Like, I'd like to see like that it exists and things like that, and just kind of like a cosmetic organizer, like a cosmetic gallery. Like, I'm an MMO player at heart, and I just want to see like what random collectibles there are to get, and things like that. I think what would be nice is like a Sparky expansion. And if those of you don't know, Sparky is like the AI that you can play against, and it isn't very good. I'm not like asking for like, oh, Sparky should be like a much better like intuitive player and be better like that, but it's let us play Brawl decks against Sparky, because Sparky is very nice to Goldfish against to figure out if your mana base is consistent, and you currently can't do that for Brawl decks, and be able to fight that. But also be able to say like, hey, Sparky, have Sparky like, I'm not saying like improve Sparky's AI, but have the option to like give Sparky a better deck. Like, give Sparky a deck that will actually remove my stuff and deal with that, and like make it easy enough to like like, I'm not expecting like a good play experience, but like give me options to let Sparky be a better person to Goldfish against when doing some like initial deck testing and like fine-tuning mana bases, where it's okay, I'm not asking for like Sparky to like perfectly like pilot Simic Food, but it's like Sparky's AI can probably handle like playing like Gruul aggro, or something like that, where it's like, or just like something that isn't just like intro to like worse than intro deck mono red, and just like I understand like having those like very simple decks for new players to like get the ropes of the game against, but like for a more experienced player being like, hey, give me something that isn't training wheels. And sure, it is still a training, like a test program, but like, yeah, like it doesn't have to be like as like completely incompetent. Like, it doesn't need to be running like all these bad stuff. Like, give it good spells. Like, give just like slightly better decks, like slightly better tune. Like, make it like obviously easy to pilot for the AI, and don't you have to do AI work, but like, okay, I've made my point. Just give Sparky something that isn't complete, just like a random of monocolor cards picked up from like the bulk bin. Like, please, he deserves better. They deserve better. Sparky is genderless. Sparky is not a person. Yeah. Like, before I get into large stuff, or actually, no, I'll just go into large stuff. So the last one is like, the last section of this stuff I want is just like, these are actually large things to be added. Like, these would be like large things, and honestly, it's like everything before here, like I could reasonably see being added, and the rest of these are just like wishes, where it's like, you know, if I was in charge, I would be totally for looking into these, but it's like, I have no expectations that any of these things are going to happen, but I would love for them to happen. And obviously they'd be way down the line, and most of them have prerequisites of other systems and things like that. So the first one I would want like is the ability to run like private events, which isn't something even you can do like a Mitgo and things like that. But it's like, especially for once we have pod drafting, being able to like, okay, let's get together like 8 specific people, like everyone like pays the normal entry fee for a draft, but like everyone drafts in that pod, and you just have a nice in-pod draft, and you can all like hang out on Discord and things like that, and like just like have a good time, and just kind of have that like close community experience. Where it's like we'll be able to do that for like when multiplayer comes out for like Brawl or like Historic Commander and things like that. But just to be able to do that for things like Limited and stuff like that would be really nice to have. As well as also like just like for slightly larger events, like in like, especially it also depends on how the social features pan out and like what form they take, but like be able to things like run like a tournament natively for like, I run the Highlander tournament through the Discord and things like that, but the ability to just like run that tournament just normally through why are words hard? Be able to run things like that like normally just through the browser being like, okay, here are the players playing, everyone's shown up, like I want it to rerun as a Swiss tournament, and it goes. Would be just amazing. But at the very least, like just be able to be like draft with my friends would just be sweet. The next thing would just be like, and like even if it's just like, okay, I understand like people like not wanting to like game the system and like being like, okay, maybe not just like that, but it's like be able to just like, sure, like just make it like phantom draft if like you're really worried about people just like using this as a way to like give one person the good card and things like that, but like make it phantom or whatever, but just like let people like play events and stuff like that. It would just be really neat to play. Or like if you're worried about like people using it to transfer currency and stuff, like just like make it just like no like any other like direct challenge, just make like, okay, it's a phantom draft, no rewards, like just go in and you play. As well as just it could be a good way to like actually teach like new players how to draft when they're not super good at that. Right, so the next up is a big one for me, but is super unlikely and I don't see working, most likely, and it would probably be a huge undertaking, but I would adore it. And they've mentioned that they want to like bring something like a historic cube onto it, but a build your own cube system, for things like running, like you require the prior thing where it's like running like drafts, but like be able to be like put together my own cube to play with my friends like on Arena, because like honestly one of the biggest hardest parts of cube is getting people to come over and play your cube. Like that's one of the hardest parts, and giving that experience online makes it like it's just something you can't do outside of third-party programs. And just like having that experience would be great. You can also do things like okay, like have the cube like use my cosmetics for everyone, things like that, like make me like kind of like care about like collecting like the random card styles and stuff for like random players, like random like fringe cards that don't see constructed play but could be cool on the cube. And yeah, no, but just like any form of like build your own cube would just be, I would adore it, and it would be so awesome. But like I understand that that is such a far off dream that it's not likely to happen, but if there's honestly anything I'd like to see in an Arena, it would be that. The next thing was just mine, like I personally have like some mixed feelings on some of the parts of it, would be an expansion of the mastery system, especially when coming to looking at past sets, and kind of making the mastery system less of a, oh, here's the current set, and obviously having that aspect there, but kind of like having it be like, if any of you played Guild Wars 2, there was these things called like PvE, like reward tracks, or not PvE, or PvP reward tracks. For PvP, had these things where it's like, okay, when you're playing PvP, you get like reward track progress, based on like whatever you win a game and stuff like that. You get a certain amount of reward progress. But there was like the whole list of things where it's like, okay, what kind of rewards you want to go for? Like what like region of the game or event that was going on, do you want to like be working towards? And a mastery system that was sort of like that would be, I think, would be really interesting, like neat to see, where it's like currently it's like, okay, you have no choice right now but to work on the Eldraine mastery system. But the ability to be like, okay, but like I don't really need any more Eldraine packs right now. Like I don't really care about the Eldraine cosmetics right now. But the ability to be like, okay, I'm going to change what track, like what mastery track I'm focusing on, and I'm actually going to be like, you know what, they just added Kaladesh, and I want to get some of the Kaladesh cosmetics and stuff, and like having the option to be like, okay, I want to focus on Kaladesh now, or especially like when like the Eldraine finishes, and it's like, okay, Eldraine's done, I want to focus on X or whatever set they want to do, where it's like, I don't really have cards from this era, so I want to like work on getting them, because like I don't really care about the modern set, because I got the pre-order and I've gotten some other stuff, and like I don't really need them. Just like having that option where like maybe like, yeah, gives people like, because I think I understand the want for like, okay, doing the mastery set when the set's live is kind of like gives that like a lot of the cosmetics stuff are exclusive for like the people who played during that time, which gives kind of that old thing. And like I understand like maybe give some like old people, like the people, if you like obviously have to be playing at the time to like get certain cosmetics, like that's the only time that you can get like the pet and the avatar and things like that. And like maybe like the like some of the things, and but generally just like kind of like being like, okay, what area do you want to focus on, especially like as they move back, if they start moving backwards and adding past sets, it'd be a nice thing to like introduce people to those sets, and like get things like cosmetics and stuff, because otherwise like all the past sets are gonna feel very dry in the number of like cosmetics you like, card styles and stuff you see for those sets, especially except for the people who like really like cash out for like a lot of those things. And it's like, yeah, like still like sell the mastery passes for each one individually, so it's like, okay, like I've picked up the Hour of Devastation one, I want to focus on the Hour of Devastation one, because it's like I don't necessarily want to like spend more gems on like say like unlocking another one when I'm not done with the Hour of Devastation one, but just give that option, and also just like give the option like expand, like kind of like add more pets and stuff like that, and add a bit more variety. But yeah, no, that one's one that would just like, it would require a little bit of redefining of like what the mastery system is right now. It would also just give a lot better this part of like, okay, I've reached the end of the current season, and like now they do have like that cap for like, oh, you can keep earning experience, but every time you gain a level now, you get an uncommon ICR, which exactly no one cares about. Yeah, it's like I don't just like uncommon ICRs are almost worthless. The only thing that matters is the percent chance that it gets upgraded to a rare, and even then, it's like that's so minor. Yeah, so it's I'm just like, no, but like a way to be like, okay, I finished Eldraine, okay, now I'm gonna go back and work on the Ixalan one, because I don't know, I want the fancier version of the Raptor pet or whatever. Yeah, so like I just like would love something like that, both to provide this kind of like, I don't know, like I'm an MMO player at heart, and like I love seeing numbers and levels going up, and kind of like, I don't know, like right now it's just kind of like the like, oh, it's Throne of Eldraine Mastery, where it's like, yeah, but it's just because I don't really have anything else to like train in, where it's like being able to like choose what you're actually wanting to like do your mastery in, which would be a really neat thing to do, and like also just kind of like diverge paths, like it's like, okay, they add like, okay, we're adding in like all these past sets, where it's like, okay, we were adding them for all the sets before like M20 when they haven't come out yet, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, no one can actually finish these all very quickly, so you're actually going to see a lot of variety in like what pets you have. It's like, oh, I have the tier 3 like M19 pet, which is, I don't know, what would that be, like a little tiny like baby bolus that like sits on the board, because I would totally get that. But it's like, okay, but it's like I don't really like where it's like okay, I didn't go down the like core 19 path, like instead I got, I don't know, the random servo from like Kaladesh or whatever. And like eventually some people, if they're really diligent, will get all caught up, but it's not like essential. Dress is getting tangled. And going in kind of that similar vein is some sort of achievement system where outside of mastery, like having like just like some fun achievements and things like that. Like even it's things like, okay, like win X games with like a gruel deck and things like that, and kind of like working towards like different just like quotas, because it's like I said, I am an MMO player at heart, and I love watching bars go up and attaining completely arbitrary goals, and I would just love something like that. And like, yeah, maybe like tie in, I don't know, like, okay, you get like certain rewards for certain ones, like certain like achievements and like that, and maybe you can put in some like some of the things I've actually talked about a little bit like in there, and like, yeah, like it just gives kind of like this other avenue that isn't necessarily as linear as like a mastery system where you kind of choose what you want to work on, and kind of like figure out what you're doing there. So yeah, I don't know what else to say, but just like something like a non-linear achievement system I would adore to have in the game. And also just give something like, okay, it's like I've done my dailies, like I'm not really getting any more XP this week that muchly, but maybe I want to work towards like the achievement to, like, I don't know, cast so many, I don't know, like, I don't know, like some arbitrary, like weird, like fun, like thing. And like, I understand like I was like, okay, I don't want like people like playing like weird suboptimal decks in ranked, because it's like, oh, they have to get the achievement where they want to cast so many like cats in the game. But it's like, honestly, it's like that's not really hurting anyone. It's like I said, like if I want like pure magic, then just like I just want a client that where I play magic, I go to Magic Online. Like that is like where it's like that's what it is. And it's like part of Arena, that the appeal of it is that, yeah, you can just like, you can play Magic, but it also has these like fun fluff things. That's why these like silly like non-serious formats are on Arena, and honestly are a blast. And just like having more just like fun random stuff to do would be really cool. And also just like adding more things to do without like splitting up queues too much. So the next thing would also just be like from the achievement system would just be kind of might tie into that, because I could like add some more to it. But there really needs to be an expanded tutorial, where the tutorial, actually, if you haven't played through it like on a new account, like you actually go back and play it. Like it's cute and it, like it teaches the fundamentals, but there are so many things like it does not teach. But like having little, like lots of like little optional like tutorial scenarios, being like, this is how you play with planeswalkers, this is how you like, this is how X mechanic works, and things like that would be really nice to add, and just like help teach players like some of the nuances of the rules and things like that. And like, I feel also since Arena, like Arena might teach you how to play, but it doesn't really teach you the rules. And it's kind of hard and daunting for a lot of Arena players I've talked to who like only play Arena to shift over to paper, because they don't really know how to play in paper. But like, have some tutorials being like, okay, this is a tutorial, like let's slow down and let's talk about some of the nuances of the stack. Like let's talk about some of the nuances of some weird like rules interactions and things like that. And you can even have things where it's like, okay, here's like a tutorial that you're going like, okay, the new sets come out and we're going to talk about like these new mechanics, and like, hey, if you go through the tutorials for this new set and like learning like how these things work, you know, might tie it into the achievement system, which is totally existing in this universe where I'm in charge of Arena development. It ties in the achievement stuff. You unlock an achievement being like, oh, you've gotten like the Theros Beyond, you've completed all the Theros Beyond Death tutorials, because like they already have like videos like for that like on their YouTube page, where it's like they talk about that and like kind of integrating that with like within the Arena client, like showing them how they work. You know what, here's like this card style that goes with such and such mechanic that was going here, where it's like, if it was like Throne of Eldraine, it's like, oh, you took you spent like you went through the tutorial like the explanation about like all the nuances how adventures work. Here have like the card style for like Order of Midnight and something like that, where it's gives some incentive for players to go through it and not just something that gets ignored necessarily. But it's just like I feel just like there's a lot of things that players don't know. Even things like here's a tutorial for like here's like your good like introduction to like deck building, because like they have some of it where it's just like a generic like learn more page, which is just like, oh, go to these other links that like it is beneficial, especially for games like this where it's like Arena wants to be this all-in-one experience. It is very beneficial to have everything in the client, which is actually goes into my next point. Give us more story and Vorthos integration, where like I'm not gonna even go into my current like thoughts on the state of like Vorthosness and story content within Magic, but any amount of stuff within the actual like client would be great. Like just being like okay, like have like a small little like in-game like wiki for like talking about like different characters, being like okay, like one thing I adore in another game CK2 is that it at Crusader Kings 2 is actually so it has for any character that is a historical character, you can actually like there's a button that lights up that's like, hey, this character has a Wikipedia page, you can open this Wikipedia page and do that. They'll do that where it's like, okay, you're highlighting over like someone's like Nissa or like someone's like legendary creature or something, like okay, pull up like a little bit more of its lore that isn't just like on its like page, because a lot of the creatures and stuff and like Planeswalker stuff already have like lore bios like on the story side of like this of the main website. Like bring it up there. And honestly, one thing, like the reason I have this in large part is one thing I would adore to have is remember Magic Duels? It was kind of like the last arena, except it wasn't really meant to be like, it was meant to be like, oh, let's get more like gamer people like maybe cursorily interested in Magic. But like it wasn't really meant to be like this is a Magic playing client, like this isn't like a standard client. It was just like this, like okay, this is a fun game that like kind of introduces people to Magic, to like play Magic and stuff, and it was like on Steam and stuff. But one thing it had was this really cool like PvE scenarios that actually gave like a better, like a decent overview of what the story was for each scenario, where it's like granted it wasn't like the full story, but it's like okay, it's like for like the like Shadows of Innistrad one, where it's like okay, it started off like Jace arrives here, and it's like okay, and then there was a fight thing where you like fought against a generic like werewolf deck, and you would like bring your out like it. They provided a deck for you to like play as like Jace and stuff, like all the new cards and stuff like that. But it's like some sort of integration there, like get people invested in the lore and the story, because it's like that is one of Magic's greatest strengths, and like do any amount of like Vorthos integration in the client would just be fantastic. And obviously then also link people to things where they can actually see those things. Unfortunately, like web stories are kind of dead in Magic, so you can't just like link people to the direct stories, but it's like give people resources to find those things, where it's like, yeah, like okay, maybe like okay, you want to get people to like maybe read like get the full book for like Thornville Drain, but like honestly, by reading the cards, you really don't know any of this, like don't really know the story of Thornville Drain, but you could like having a little like scenario where it's like okay, like we're gonna start off, and it's like the first like thing where it's like okay, Will and Rowan have like we're late getting out for the grand procession, and now we're staying out, and now they're like going through the woods, and it's like okay, let's do like a fight against like the red caps they encountered, and like it introduces like Oko and Garuk, and then it's like okay, flash forward a few years, now we're going off after Kenrith because Kenrith disappeared, and like it would be very easy to just like put these scenarios, like play this pre-connected deck, and just like having those kind of like PvE events just kind of like describe the story, because it's like, no offense, but the average Magic player knows squat about the Forthos side of things. Or it's just like, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't expect that, but just like any sort of just like mention that there is a deeper lore in the client would be amazing, even if it is just kind of like, hey, click on Garuk and you can pull up a summary of everything about Garuk, like, why is he cursed? What is this going on? And like just have it like pull up like a little blurb talking about his character and stuff while you're waiting for your opponent to combo off or whatever. Because it's like the number of people who just like don't know that stuff, or like or won't go out of their way. But if it's in the client, can really introduce those people to the Forthos side of the game. And make people more interested, the general person more interested in it, so Wizards actually pays more attention to the Forthos side of things. It makes it a priority. What? I'm not bitter. And the final, like, large thing I would like to see, because a lot of people are like, and I avoided it because like it's something that everyone talking about, like, oh, I want to add like start like working backwards to add Pioneer to the game, or like at least expanding Historic back a few sets, like expand Historic back to like Origins or whatever. But what I would love is just like bite the bullet and just, they've added cards to the game for things like Momir, where it's like they had like the Praetors and stuff like that, where it's just like, let us craft those. Like, even if they aren't legal in any formats, but like, let us craft those for like the players who like playing direct challenge, where it's like they are already in the game. Like, you don't have to make them legal in any formats. You can put all the warning labels for it being like, this is only playable in direct formats. But it's like, if people want to waste their mythic wildcards on them because they want to play like Jin Cataxius in like 1v1, let them. And it's just like, and especially like once they bite the bullet and like have a few cards like that, it makes it so easy to like start being like, okay, like, we're adding a little thing, like, okay, Commander like 2020 came out, okay, let's add in like, okay, well, like, basically, especially if Commander 2020 is like coming out with like Ikoria, like, okay, it isn't legal in Brawl, it isn't legal in that, but like, here, we're gonna add like the new cards that the Commander decks are being added. So like, here's new Commanders if you want to play with like Historic Commander and things like that. And really, because it's like, I play Magic, constructed Magic for Commander, and like that is the format I play for. And really, that's the only way we're gonna get to anything resembling Commander, is if we add stuff that isn't necessarily like coming through like Standard, or being like was through Standard. And like getting some of those supplemental products in there, like even if it's just like not anything major, but it's like, let us spin wildcards on them. You've already coded in some of these cards into the game, and just like have that be there, and like let the people playing direct challenge, because it's like they do it in Magic Online and it goes fine, because it's like and like Magic Online doesn't make like, it like doesn't make any direct like event income off of Commander, because that is all direct challenge. And like letting the direct challenge, like, and like also just think like before back in the social systems, give us like, when Brawl's not online, give us something like Brawl like rooms and stuff, being like LFG, like, hey, looking for a game of Brawl, even if queues up, that'd be awesome. Because I totally understand not wanting to like diversify the like groups and stuff, but also like LFG for like Historic Brawl and things like that. But it's just like allowing those direct challenge people to kind of like thrive, and just like having this casual game, and adding these things which are already in the client, but just let us play with them. Like, even there's like cards in like the tutorial, like the like Goblin Grenade and some of these other cards are in the tutorial, but like they don't show up anywhere else, and it'd be really nice to like need to see these cards and be able to play with them. Yeah. So it's like the final, and then it's the last of like the big things I'd like to add, and like it's one of those things where it's like, I don't actually expect any of these things to be added, but I would adore for them to be added. The final things are just kind of like some like just like a few random events I would like to see. And the first one kind of ties into kind of the, not necessarily as an event, but like similar vein to the Forthos stuff, but like some PvE events, because I don't know, like, granted, it does require a different skill set to program, like, the AI for that. They already have some extent of that with, like, Sparky and, like, and whatnot. But, like, things like Face the Hydra and from Theros and, like, similar events like that would be really neat to kind of, like, have in there. Another thing I'd love to have is, like, let us have an event with plane chase. Like, add plane chase and give that an option, because plane chase is awesome. And just kind of like have a plane chase add-on. Another thing what they do is because they've proven that they're willing to add cards for events and stuff, for like Momir. Because like one of the events they did during the summer was like the Guild Fight Chronicle event, which was just like, okay, here's like the pre-con like Ravnica Guild set decks. And you can play them, but let us play with the full guild kits. Like, the guild kits were amazing last year. And just like put the guild kits on there and like have a similar event, but playing with the guild kits and just kind of like have a bit more fleshed out version. And then let us craft those things. Also, let us get the guild kit lands, because those things are amazing, and I want the Celestia ones so much. Also, like, just because it's also, like, Ravnica doesn't actually, there aren't that many Ravnica-themed lands, and, despite how much of a presence Ravnica has, because, like, in Ravnica, like, only got, like, one land per set, because it's, like, basics don't show up in Ravnica packs. And then, like, finally, one of the things I would love more so much, and it's, like, I think if it would happen, it's super far away, but an arena-based unset, where it's an unset specifically for arena, doing like things that can only happen on arena. So like, I don't know what examples, but things like an increased randomness, like cards that like create like I don't even know what to do, like things like impossible cards, like cards that are like truly random, like a creature that is like truly like a Momir fake type creature that like could be anything, or like triple face cards, and just like really like weird stuff that you can only do on a digital client, and kind of in the spirit of silver border stuff, which we just really neat, and I would love to see on there, because it's like I'm an absolute fan of silver border Magic. Unstable is my favorite draft set of all time. And I would just like love to see something like that on arena for that. It's like, okay, you cast this like random mythic, and it starts like a mini game of like Pong or something on the game that you have to like do something like that, where it's like just like something dumb like that, like that takes advantage of the fact that you're playing this on a computer. This would be really neat to see. So but yeah, I don't really know what else to say. That's about it for like kind of like my ramblings of stuff I would like to see. I hope it was at least mildly entertaining, because I just made up this and went into this. But yeah, no, but generally it's just like, I would like just more fun stuff. Like, I'm not asking us, like, I'm not like, I try to stay away from like, oh, I want X and X format, but just like, I want stuff to do. Like, I want, like I said, I want like kind of like fluff. I just want to have fun with the thing, and like let them really just kind of go out there a little bit with like what they're adding, and just like make it this like kind of like fun experience, like collecting and expanding your collection, like watching like bars go up as you complete achievements and stuff like that. And yeah, yeah. Anything like any ideas that you have, like things you'd like to see on arena? Am I completely crazy for some ideas, and they're all horrible ideas? And Lily, why are you going into game design? Because why would you mar the world with your horrible ideas? Because this is your ideas for arena, you're obviously gonna pollute every game you touch. Let me know. But yeah, I don't know much else to say, so I'll probably leave you all here tonight, because I went for an hour. I did not intend to go that long. Well, I hope you have a wonderful night. You have wonderful dreams. And as always, may your stories smile upon you.